Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 28. Vin, whenever you mention our guest name amongst the pros, you either a class act or one of the good ones.
Oh
We
yeah,
have on with us the 1991 light heavyweight nationals winner. Vin, who's the man of the hour tonight?
Porter Cottrell. So, let me just start out by just like giving you a little story here. Um, so the beginning of 1989 or end of '88, I was seeing, back in the day it was all magazines. We didn't have what they have today, social media. You could just click on a phone and see whoever it was, right? So I was seeing these pictures of this guy Porter Cottrell, and I'm like, man, I want to look like that guy. And he was a light heavyweight, and at the time I was a middleweight, but at the time I thought I think I could grow into a light heavy. And in the beginning of 1989, I set my sights for this NPC Suburban Bodybuilding Championships in Jersey, and for some reason, I was awestruck. How you say it? Starstruck with Porter in a sense. I didn't even know him. He wasn't. I don't think he was a pro yet. And I know he entered the in the '80s. I think, as you said, '86 Continental USA. And I thought that was like the coolest title, and maybe it was a stepping stone to the national level. I knew it was a regional show, and he did it. I want to do it. And so after I won the overall at the Suburban, I flew out to Skokie, Illinois. I competed in the Continental USA because of Porter. I took second place in the middleweight class. And fast forward, 1993, it was just one of those things where everything was clicking on all cylinders with all the guys that I was training with. Carlo Filippone, Joe Caputo, and all the guys, no-name guys, other guys. They were my training partners who were competing on a local level in '93. And we did everything together. We ate together. It was just one of those years that just everybody was in sync. And we go to the Night of the Champions in 1993. And afterwards, Porter he won the Night of the Champions, which is now known as the New York Pro. And at the time, it was at the Beacon Theater, which was on another level of excitement back in the day. So afterwards, everybody would go to a restaurant called Ernie's in New York City and go eat. And after we got done eating, we said, let's go walk by the Beacon Theater and let's just see if anybody's outside. And there he is. He's sitting there on a park bench all by himself. And I don't know if you remember, but we walked up to you, and one of the things you said to us was, because we were like enamored with you, like, oh my God, like we're actually talking to this guy. And because we only see people in the magazines. So Porter says to us, guys, and I remember this like it was yesterday, I'm the same way as you are, except I just look a little different. There's no different. You have the exact potential I have. Go after what you're going after. And it's just something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And that just lit a fire under all our asses. I ended up winning. I came in second in the junior nationals that year and won my class in the USA. My training partner, Joe Caputo, won a few of his shows. Carlo Filippone went on to win shows, and a bunch of other guys. We all just were on fire. And we were so like grateful for that. Literally, like, it was 10 minutes of your time. You were cool. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for coming on the show, Porter.
No, I appreciate you having me. And yes, I remember sitting on that bench. I'm almost positive I was by myself.
You were?
No, my girlfriend went into the Beacon Hotel, and yeah, you guys walked up. Yeah, but I'm just a normal, everyday guy, and I've always been. Doesn't mean I haven't done silly stuff when I was hormonally out of balance. But I've always tried to be just a normal, everyday guy because I just was built a little bit different at the time.
Well, everybody has their off days, but that night was your night, and you didn't have an ego or like you weren't like full of yourself. You just took your time and chilled out and was like, listen, you're just another bodybuilder just like us, and it was so cool.
I always believe this. This is how I kind of like live my life. I knew eventually, when you go up in the sport and you're fortunate enough to be whatever degree of success, and you meet people, and but there's going to be a point in time where that's going to be a reverse situation, and you're going to start to come down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no longer going to be a Porter Cottrell or whomever, because other bodybuilders are going to come in. But what I kind of thought, that, well, I'd rather someone remember me for me as an individual other than the fact that I was just maybe built a little bit different, or had a few successes in bodybuilding. You see my point?
Absolutely.
That's how I kind of lived my life,
Absolutely.
in the sport.
Yeah. So you win the Night of Champions in 1993, and how did it change the course of your life, if it did? Like, did you get contracts? Did you get, you were in magazines? Did you link up with Weider at all?
Well, let me tell you, I remember, so I understood bodybuilding really early on, Vinny. I don't know if you did, but so let me just throw this at you real quick. So I remember I won the Mr. Louisville, Mr. Kentucky back-to-back, weekend to weekend. And then I was getting ready for the fire department, but I wanted to compete again before I got on the fire department. And the Continental USA has such an incredible, strong title to me. And it was a very large show. Don't you agree, Vinny?
Yeah.
And I prepared for that. And then after that, I got on the fire department. And right as soon as I got on the fire department, got out of drill school, I started focused on the 1988 Junior Nationals. You remember how big that show used to be?
Sure. Yeah.
From that point, I was really fortunate enough to win my class in the overall there. I started marketing myself. So my point is that you might laugh at this, but guys, I wrote Joe a letter and sent him a couple of 8x10 photos trying to get my name out there.
I did the same thing.
I started
right at the back. I'm not laughing at you. Vinny's done the same thing. I'll compare in a minute, but continue. I'm sorry.
No, so exactly what I did. Now, of course, hello. I'm just, won the amateur, 1980, 88 Junior Nationals. But my point of it is that I was doing everything I could to market myself because I understood there's a business side to the sport, no matter how good you are. And a lot of it's personality, but or having a proper physique, but you've got to market yourself. So I would send out letters and a photo to promoters. I don't know if you did this, Vinny, to try to get a guest posing. And let me say something to you guys. I know at least 3 or 4 guest postings before the Nationals, that's the very first Nationals. I was drug tested positive there and wasn't able to compete when Alcu Gurley won. But I would do guest postings for free, just to get my name out there. And I remember, how you used to sign photos and stuff?
Yeah.
I would not sign one photo, but I just kept chugging along. I was trying to push myself. And it was all about marketing at that point in time. And that's when I started marketing myself. So right after, I turned pro, I did my first pro show was in Niagara Falls. I remember, you remember guys, when you had you had an answering machine. Y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
I remember coming back I won my first pro show, which kind of blew me away, but I'd come back and I had some messages, and Lynn Conkright from Weider's office called me right then and there and offered me a contract.
Wow.
I got a contract right off the bat.
Good for you.
Wow.
I just got lucky. I mean, it was just pure luck. Right place, right time, whatever.
It's funny. I had mentioned this on the previous podcast. I did exactly what you did. And thinking back, I it's so long ago, and I must admit some of the things are fuzzy. So maybe I knew that about you, and I wanted to pave the same path because I wrote letters to the magazines.
Yeah.
And it baffles me today with all of the social media and at the fingertips of these guys, and people don't market themselves like we did.
No, we didn't have anything. We did the best we could with letters and photos or signed photos, if you will. And, I used to do a marketing thing, Vinny, every year before how we had like an off season, if you will. Every year, even as a pro, I did something unique and different, sent stuff out to all the promoters.
Oh,
every year I did something different.
See, what I did was every year in the 90s, it was hard. You had to win your class to turn pro.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. I did the Nationals like 8 times, 9 times. Yeah. So I won the USA in 93, and then, 94 to 2005, I did the Nationals. I placed from, a couple of times 3rd, 2nd, 5th. I think once I took 6th, but every time I was training for the shows, I built up a rapport with all the photographers, and I would just write to all the photographers, and I would do an investment in myself, fly out to California, because all the shoots back then were free. Everything was free, so it wasn't like all I had to do was like secure at least 3 photographers, and then I knew I was in the magazines all year long.
Yeah. Do you remember your first time in a magazine by chance?
Yes, I do.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What was it, Porter?
Feeling.
What was the magazine?
I want to say Muscular Development.
Okay.
Y'all remember that?
Oh,
Of course.
Yeah. And you know how I got my first photo shoot? You remember? I probably don't remember, but in 1990 they started the drug testing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So it was in California, and I'll tell y'all straight up, I never took anything. I swear. You know, the only thing I took for that show, and it was the best I believe I'd ever looked in my life as far as an amateur is concerned. I took 10 IUs a week of hematropin. And that's all I took for 10 weeks. I never touched anything. Anyway, make a long story short, I tested positive for something, and I don't know what it was. And I remember Jimmy called me up to the room. I was getting, you know how you had Protan? Do y'all remember that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I was shiring out Protan, and I get a phone call, and they go, "Hey, Porter, you got a phone call." And this is right before we get ready to leave for prejudging. And it was Jimmy Mannion. He goes, "Hey, Porter, kind of find something in your blood. Will you come on up to my room?" So I go up there, and he tells me, you know, "I've got X in, you know, on your report." And I said, "Okay, well," I didn't even refute it, which I didn't do it. And I just said, "Okay, I promise you, I hope I didn't cause any embarrassment. I'll come back next year." But because of that, I had a little bit of time. Irving Gelb did a photo shoot with me in the Gold's Gym.
Nice.
That was my first photo shoot.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember. You remember Irving Gelb?
Of course.
Yeah, awesome guy, awesome photographer. Oh my God.
He was always a guaranteed lock-in to do a photo shoot.
Absolutely. Such a great guy too. I really liked Irving a lot.
Yeah, he's into politics now.
He's what?
He's into politics.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I don't think he's doing photography at all.
Yeah. But he was a great guy, and that was my first photo shoot. Yeah, I remember it.
That's funny.
It's just a turn of events.
And
What was your first win Chicago Pro?
No, it was Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
and then the following weekend was the Chicago Pro.
Okay. Because you had to, I mean, back then you had the competition. So I'm looking here. You were Niagara Falls. You had Henderson Thorne, Milos, JJ Marsh, Albert Beckles. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on.
That was a tough show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you know, I'm sure Benny, you probably has experiences, but may I say my most memorable moments in the sport of bodybuilding? There's 2 that really stand out to me, but I remember the Niagara Falls. You know, I was nervous as can be. I didn't know what was going to happen. But anyway, you had Albert Beckles and all those guys, JJ Marsh. Oh my God, I thought he was a great bodybuilder. And then Henderson and Milo Chavez. But my 2 most memorable moments in competing, my favorite bodybuilder growing up, I loved Robbie Robinson, and, you know, but I loved Bob Harris, you know, and I was actually, you remember Bob Harris?
Of course. Yeah, one of the best posers ever.
Yeah, one of the greatest bodybuilders. And I had dinner with him when he did a seminar. But I remember competing against, Vinny, 1993 Night of the Champions. No, hold up. It might have been 92 when it was, no, it was 92, Vinny. Do you remember, Sean, do you remember that? Where Kevin won, I placed second,
you took second.
Placed third.
Yep, and Terry Pastel 4th and Milos 5th. Yep.
Yeah. And so at the very end of the second round, they had asked, for whatever reason, some European judge asked Robbie and myself to come out by ourselves. And to do a comparison for whatever reason. And I'm out there doing comparisons with Robbie, but you know, your mind leaves you a little bit. And I remember distinctly, this is for real, guys. I remember distinctly as I'm doing a pose down with Robbie, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. And I'm thinking back when I was in 11th grade, I had a picture of him and Danny Padilla in my folder. And instead of doing my work, I was checking them out, you know. And I thought to myself, I went back to that moment. I'm thinking to myself, now here I am standing next to this guy, posing with him in a pose down. How the turn of events, man. Again, I'll use that term, but I remember that. And then the second time I won Chicago Pro, Bob Harris competed. and I competed against Bob Harris. And that was another incredible, memorable moment because you never know those things are going to happen.
Sure.
You know, when you're younger.
So you're standing next to Robbie Robinson. Are you able to disassociate and say, I don't want to beat my idol or whatnot?
No.
Or are you saying, I'm going to take my idol out here?
No, I never thought. I just disconnected to the moment.
Okay.
Because it was a surreal moment. And
Sure.
I thought back of the time when I was sitting in my 11th grade class, looking at photos of him. And here I am now standing side by side doing comparisons with him.
That's great.
So that's, I was just a snotty-nosed little bodybuilder kid, I probably only weighed 135 pounds in 11th grade, So
when did you start competing?
Huh?
When did you start competing?
My very first show I did, remember AAU? Was the AAU Mr. Louisville 1983. I was 23, weighed 151, placed second.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and that was my very first. And in 84, I won a Mr. Louisville and Mr. Kentucky. Let me say something to you, though, guys, if I may say this, because these are really important things. So I did that show really basically drug-free. I weighed 151. And then I realized, oh, my God, the only thing I did different in how I looked is I ate different. Okay, is that fair to say?
Yep.
And 10 months later, I competed in the Mr. Louisville again, but it was the NPC Mr. Louisville. And 10 months later, I weighed 179.
Wow.
179 and won the Louisville and the Kentucky back to back. And now think about how much I was able in 10 months. Now, granted, I remember I took 100 milligrams a week of DECA and 6 Anavar a day when it was 2.5. That's all I took. And I was able to put on that kind of size. But what was the pivotal point is understanding how much nutrition played a part of growing. And so what I did is like I said, well, if I can look like this, eating like this, why don't I just increase that food and then do the same thing, but just eat more? And that's when I started growing. That's when everything took off. So
did you have a mentor to teach you how to eat, or did you just use common sense?
I did it all on my own. I tell people all the time, dude, this is really how I did it. I was just a snotty young-nosed kid, barely surviving. I would go to the bookstores and I would get books. I'd only have a little bit of money. And then I'd get books and I would come back home and stay up most of the night reading them, writing notes, being real delicate.
Yep.
And then I would take the book back the next day. This is for real. I'd take the book back the next day and say, hey, I'm sorry, this is the wrong book. This is the book I was really wanting to get.
Love it.
That's how I started garnering knowledge, just through reading and trial and error. Yeah, I did it. I would ask people things, but the greatest advice I ever got is one of the greatest bodybuilders around in the area, Benny and Sean at the time, was Steve Constance. And I remember everyone gives you contradicting opinions and viewpoints. And, I was 20-something years old. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I remember going to him one day, nervous as can be. And I said, hey, Steve, can I get your advice? And I just asked him, dude, well, everyone's telling you X, Y, Z, but you don't know, and everyone has a different opinion. What would you do? Here's the greatest advice he gave me. He said, Porter, educate yourself, because no one will ever know your body like you. And that's where I started from that point on. Yeah.
Cool. Porter, so talking about nutrition, back when you were competing, were you high protein, medium carb? I mean, what was your staples looking like?
I always based my my meals on protein. I think I understood. There's a couple of factors. I told someone this the other day. In the off season, I never believed in protein drinks. Let me say that right off the bat. I never used them. Never. Okay. Not my amateur career and not my pro career. I always ate real food, and boy, was I sick of eating. I was terribly was. When I got ready for a show, I just knew that and I didn't understand the body as well as I do now. I just got lucky. And I put all the pieces together. I stayed on what was a borderline ketogenic diet, meaning that when it got down to the last 6 or 7 weeks, my carbohydrate take would probably be around 100 to 125. And I felt miserable. Let me just say that. And I would keep my protein up. But how stupid was I not to understand how pivotal and how important essential fat was for your body? So I suffered. I felt terrible through my shows. And I remember Lita Brod and I were in the FIBO in Germany. Yeah, I think. And I remember we were talking about nutrition, because I had just the utmost respect for Lee. And he always had incredible condition, because really, to me, everything's conditioning. But I remember we were talking about nutrition. He said, well, Porter, what kind of fats are you taking? And I said, Lee, I really keep my fats super low. He goes, dude, you need some fats. He didn't say, dude, but he said, Porter, you need some fats. And he said something to me about, I think it might have been Barlean's high lignin flaxseed oil. And I remember going home and getting some. I thought, well, I'll be okay without it. And I thought, well, oh my God, hold up. That might make me fat. That's how my mind played tricks on the
Sure, sure.
And that's why I felt so bad. But once I started implementing fat to my diet, I never felt poorly again. But yeah. So the first 2 years, I felt like crap.
So give us like a 5 meal a day. What would you be eating for a show?
For a show?
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what I ate.
Meal 1 through whatever.
Okay, meal 1, I'd have 10 egg whites, 4 ounces of cream of rice with a 4-ounce banana, and 1 tablespoon of flaxseed oil. My next meal would be, depending on what range I was, say I was real close, it'd be a 6-ounce new potato, half a cup of vegetables, and 6 ounces of turkey weighed, 6 ounces cooked. My next meal would be the same exact carbohydrate, same exact vegetable. Sometimes I get hooked on broccoli. Sometimes I get hooked up on Brussels sprouts. And then I would have 10 ounces of orange roughy. And my next meal would be just a vegetable and 10 ounces of orange roughy. And my very last meal would be 10 egg whites and a 4-ounce diced apple.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, did you base your training around your carbohydrates, or you just trained?
I never thought anything of it. Now I would do, depending on how far I'm behind, I would always do fasted cardio. I think it's a must. I don't know how you feel, but I would either, like, sometimes I would be so hungry, guys. I mean, it was rough. Yeah. I'd be so hungry. I would just, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd get up and I'd go do cardio. I drive to a subdivision and do cardio for 30, 40 minutes, because you get to endorphin release, suppress the appetite. Or I'd have a cup of coffee and try to just get through the night. But I would, God, how stupid was I? I used to only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night because I would get insomnia. I don't know, Vinny, if you do.
Yeah.
But I get insomnia, and I would say, please let me go to sleep. And if it was 3 o'clock, I'd be up and my day would start. I was kind of like overkill. And, but it was miserable the first few years until I realized that fat was an important.
Well, I wouldn't say how stupid it was. You were learning.
That's fair. It was a process.
Yeah, it was a process.
Yeah, it was a process. But I did feel terrible. Oh my God, I felt terrible. And I do believe this, though. This is just my personal opinion. I look at the bodybuilders today, and I don't say this with any disrespect, so don't take it like that. And I'm going back into the 90s. Emilio Chavez put a thing up on Facebook the other day about our faces, how sunk in our faces would be. And he had one of me and one of Milos and then one of Dorian. I looked like crap. I looked like a skeleton in my face.
Yep.
That's how lean we were. And then I never did not kind of get in that kind of shape where I did not have discomfort.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Discomfort. If you're not feeling some degree of discomfort, things are not going right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
No, it is. Yeah.
It's a booger.
It's funny you say that, Porter, because I was talking with friends of mine that Dexter Jackson might have been the only last one. I mean, Vinny's sunk now. I was hanging out with Vinny the other day, but Dexter Jackson might be the only one that had that skeleton face look all throughout more modern times.
The one thing about Dexter, I competed against him a couple of times. And I remember one time we stayed in Orange County for about a week. Actually, it was the week of Andreas Munzer dying. Okay. Anyway, and then Dorian or Dexter always came in incredible condition. Always. Yep. I mean, all the bodybuilders in the 90s did. That's, Vinny, you've always been spot on with conditioning. But that's really what it's about. Today, I don't know.
It's a different look.
Chemicals. It's an inhibiting factor. It's my personal opinion. So,
well, I also think I 100% agree with you. And the products that were available in the 90s were real. Okay. And a lot of things that are around today are made in a kitchen.
Yep.
And the product is.
I don't know really who it is.
And you listen, it's so funny you said about nandrolone, 100 milligrams of nandrolone, and probably you took 25 milligrams of Anavar in total.
No, it came in 2.5.
Right, 2.5.
Yeah, and I would do 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. That's it.
All right, so 15 milligrams, right?
Yeah, 15 days, yeah.
And today, guys will frown about the Anavar. I would never do Anavar. That's for bikini girls. I'm like, What are you guys talking about?
It's one of my favorite. Listen, I don't do chemicals. I do testosterone replacement. I have since Kanan was born. But I would love to do a cycle of Anavar. I loved Anavar. It was one of my favorite things, man.
Yeah.
I would always do Anavar and Primable and Depot. Do you remember that?
Of course.
I love that. But I won't do it. I won't do it. There's no need in it.
Yeah. Well, you're not doing that to your body anymore.
I have a son to worry about, so I don't want to do it.
So let's touch on a little bit of how you trained and what modality. What was your philosophy of, like, were you training? Did you use heavy weights? Did you lighter weight? Like, how did you train? What was your goal in the gym?
Well, there's a major turning point when when I won the nationals and I turned pro. I was able to compete maybe 8 or 10, 12 pounds heavier. And the only thing I did different is I realized, well, hold up. When I'm getting ready for a show, why do I feel the need to go lighter? It's not going to condition me anymore. So I try to stay heavy and pretend like I'm not really doing a show. Just diet the same way, do cardio the same way. I've always been a very fast trainer. I'm in and out of the gym.
Yep.
The only time a training session might last an hour with me is when I used to squat. Because you remember how we use knee wraps and stuff like that?
Today.
Remember that? And but other than that, I was in and out of the gym. I do 2 days on, 1 day off because it works out incredible with my fire department schedule. And so basically every week I was training one body part twice that week. I believed, and I still believe to this day. And let me say something to you. And I tell people this all the time, guys. I've been working out since I was 12, and everyone probably feels the same way. But I know Jean-Pierre Fulk said, no, if I didn't have to work out, I wouldn't. I love working out more today than I ever have in my entire life. But I work out with the same philosophy. I don't use the poundages I used to use because I don't use the chemicals and I don't have the strength. I only weigh 175. But I would go heavy, light, high reps, and low reps, all within the same suit. And I was very methodical about pyramiding, warming up. And that's how I trained my whole entire life. And I'm fanatical about form and warming up.
Sure.
For my whole career.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't anything incredible that I did. I just get in the gym, get out of the gym, because after about 40 minutes of everything's in a perfect world, your cortisol level starts to dump, and you want to inhibit that as much as possible. So I would sometimes like challenge myself to see how fast I can get done and get out the door. I swear, that's how I lived, and I still kind of do that.
Now, did you base the time on after you were warmed up? Or
Yes. Once I was warmed up and I said, whomever I was working out with, I said, okay, John, dude, let's try to get done with chest and X, usually around 21, 22 minutes, 23 minutes. And then let's do chest and shoulders and let's get out of here in 40 minutes. And we went heavy and we went fast. And I did, like for chest, I would do, I believe most people overtrain, by the way. I don't know how you feel.
Absolutely.
But I would do 10 or 12 sets for chest. And, maybe 3 or 4 sets for three sets. My shoulders grew a lot. So maybe 3 sets for the front deltoid, 3 or 4 sets for the side, and 3 or 4 for the rear, and then shrugs. So something so simplistic, and be out the door. It doesn't take a lot, but it was always very important to me that whatever I do today, I'm going to do something different tomorrow. It never was the same workout ever. And I do that today. I do it with my clients today too.
I do the same thing. Sean drove down to meet me and one of my training partners last Saturday. And when we got done, I looked at the clock and it was the 3 of us. We did back and we went heavy.
Yeah. And how many sets did you guys do?
What's that?
How many sets did you all do? If you don't mind me asking.
What did we do? 16, Vinny? I think we did four exercises, 4 sets.
Is that including hypers?
Yeah. But that also included the warm-ups too.
Yeah.
Oh, it did? Yeah. What was your fundamental sets though? Like our exercises, I mean.
We started out with the really old school machine pullovers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
Like cable or dumbbell?
It was no cable.
Machine loaded.
Seated.
Okay. Oh, the machine?
Yeah.
Like a Nautilus or something like that?
Yep, exactly. It was a Nautilus. Yeah. So the gym I go to sometimes has that, and
that's awesome.
Then we went
T-bar rows.
T-bar.
Yep.
Did a machine row, a pull down and hypers, and we got on the treadmill, and I said to Juan and Sean, I said, look at that, under 60 minutes, the three of us, we did back.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And there was no phone in sight, no cell phone in sight.
Now that's what got us. I'm telling you right now, blows me away. I don't know, like, why have your cell phone with you when you're working out? I mean, if you're going to work out and work out with any degree of intensity and you know, like hard, you don't have time to have your cell phone.
No.
I don't understand it. I see it all the time though. Yeah,
I always like ask myself, would I have done that if I was in this era? You know, and I don't know, because I remember thinking to myself back in the day, before the cell phone was even invented,
right?
Where I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I don't want interruptions. I want to train.
Yeah.
And I take my training extremely serious. And you know, sometimes like Sean, like is the second time he came down, and he's like, he asked me, what did I weigh? And I'm like, I don't know. This is training. I don't want to talk about it.
And I read the signal and said, okay, I'm going to shut up now. I'll talk to him at the end.
Yeah, that's okay. But I was like that
like
too, though. I was exactly like that.
I don't want to work out. I want to train.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
There's a big difference. And if we start a conversation, or you get on your phone, or you're distracted, people say, well, I'm still going to do my set. You're doing your set, but you're not training. It's a big difference. You go, he goes, I go. And go in that circle. As the three of you, it's just go in that rotation.
Well, that's how you're able to get done so quick. It's like bam, 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 bam.
Yep.
You know,
it was funny though, because when we first started, we're doing the pullovers.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is going to take a long time because there's three of us.
Right.
But we paced the warm up. The pull down, the pull over was the warm up.
Yeah.
And then the last set was a little heavier. I don't know if you noticed, but I had rotator cuff surgery in both shoulders. So I can't do
both shoulders.
Yeah, I have 14 anchors throughout both of my shoulders.
Well,
so
how do your shoulders look so dang good? Because normally they atrophy because of that. You know, I had rotator cuff or labrum surgery, and I noticed the difference in
actually everything became better after my shoulder surgeries, because I was able to now be more focused in my muscle when I'm training than ever before, because I have to pay attention to squeezing, form, being deliberate in the training, with not deliberate in a sloppy way, but deliberate with execution, where I'm squeezing everything and I have to feel it. So to somebody it might look heavy, but the weight I could go a lot heavier sometimes, but I don't. You know. So
now, has it inhibit your posing ability? Like
yes.
Front lat
so it's funny you saying that, because my front double bicep used to be so natural to me.
And now you got to force it.
Well, no, now, so over the last few years, I've been working with this woman, Melissa, who just breaks me up. And finally, it like literally happened this past week, well, in the last month, I should say.
Okay.
She's a masseuse. She's your masseuse, right, Ben?
When I bring my hands up, my hips don't go forward. And it's just everything in my back is opened up. So I'm feeling good with my posing. And I feel
rotate back with your arms.
I can do that now. Yeah.
Yeah. See, thank God I don't bodybuild anymore, because it really, even though I'm normal on my left side, it's not the same.
Sure. I'm not 100%. I'm probably about 98% what I used to be.
Yeah, but it's close though. That's good.
But 2 or 3 years ago, I was 80% in my range of motion.
Yeah. If you don't mind, how'd you hurt your shoulders, if you don't mind me asking?
Being stupid. You know, the first one.
We all do it, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So the first one, I was dumbbell benching 70s. I was retired. I knew this was my threshold. This is the weight I should use.
Right.
And it felt really easy. And I thought, let me try 80s. So I picked up the 80s. I'm dumbbell benching 80s.
Right.
I'm like, wow, this is like butter today. I'm super strong. This is great. Let me go to 85s. 85s were used. So I picked up the 90s.
You did
and not. On the fifth set, it dislocated and it smashed me in the face. Yeah, I was a mess. Tore my entire rotator cuff right off, and needed 9 acres for this one. And a year later, tore this and needed 5 anchors for this on the left side.
Hey, can I tell you what I did yesterday morning, guys?
Please.
It's breaking news. I was one of my clients came in. He normally trains with someone, and he goes, I said, you know what? I'll train with you, Lewis. So we're just going to do arms. And I was just doing dumbbell curls, and I'd warmed up like I always do. And we just went up the ladder because I'm real methodical. I don't really use a lot of heavy weight anymore. And I went to 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 on dumbbell curls. And that's comfortable for me, okay? I thought, you know what? What the hell? I'm going to go up to 50. I tore my long head in my right bicep.
Oh, geez.
On my 5th rep, I went to go. But listen, as soon as I went up, I felt it. It's the weirdest feeling in my life. And I dropped it that quick. So I went to an orthopedic yesterday. And when you tear your outer head, they normally don't have surgery on that, because if I didn't show you, you would probably never know.
Okay.
But the funny thing about it is, guys, a couple of my buddies have torn their outer head and they would be black and blue the next day. I don't have anything. So I'm thinking it was more, I'm aware of it because I heard it. Like you heard your shoulder, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a partial, but right now I'm not in near the pain. I wasn't in really even a lot of pain yesterday. But yeah, can you believe that? So you can do everything perfect, guys. Yep. And no matter how seasoned you are or how professional you are, shit can happen.
Oh, listen, when I'm training now, like okay, tonight me, Juan and I trained. I do leg presses first, and I'm not using anything I can't handle within the 15 to 20 rep range, and I do it very slow. Then we squatted, and it's just 185 for slow 12 reps, really slow. And I sat there and I said to myself, I'm going to go to 225. I got up and I said, Juan, we're done. I didn't even tell him I had 225 in my head, but because I was thinking, like, what is 225 how is it going to benefit me right now?
It's not
5 weeks out.
Yeah.
I'm not
and
going to do
honestly, the 50, I don't know why I did it, but even the doctor did. He was so nice. He said, Porter, it could have been 30 next month. And it's just that moment in time where it happens. So it is what it is. And I've just got to be real meticulous, let it heal. But I'm not in any pain or anything like that. So we'll see. But you just never know when things happen. Thank God it wasn't during my career, though.
Recently, I just had on my left knee exosome therapy. You should look into that.
What was going on with your knee?
I'm bone on my left knee.
Really?
And now I can squat, I can leg press because of the exosome therapy. I am in zero pain. I don't even know I'm bone on bone. So you should just do a little research on exosome therapy.
Well, what I'm going to say to you guys, it's going to trip you out a little bit. I'm scared to say anything to you because I'm freaking going to hurt myself.
I hear you. I know.
My knees and my shoulders and everything, they're in great shape. The only thing I have a problem with is I hurt my back about maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. I got the stupid idea not to wear my belt, and I was doing a real heavy seated row, and I let my breath go the wrong way.
Okay.
I've never been the same. So I can't squat.
There's a product that I highly recommend that I've been using since October. It's called Humanifort, and I've been getting it from a guy, Emmerich. Remember Emmerich Delzig from the 90s, late Emmerich. So he's in his 70s now, and he looks fantastic. And he introduced himself to me late last summer, and I started taking Humanifort. My recovery is through the roof.
Is it a peptide or something?
It's over-the-counter peptide.
Yeah, over-the-counter.
Really?
So, yeah.
Benny, if I may ask, what benefit? What do you feel?
So, I recover fast. Okay, on many levels. One, I sleep better. I recover from the workouts better. My digestive system has never been better.
Were you having problems with your stomach?
Yeah, well, when I was a child, I had pyloric stenosis. I was born with my stomach closed, and they had to reopen it. They had to open it, and they don't know if there's a correlation to it. But I, like today with squatting, I'm burping a little bit. So, and I have to take, I'm present for it. It's like over the counter. It's a prescription like, for acid
Right.
reflux.
Are
But,
you
Prilosec.
doing probiotic stuff,
Prilosec.
fermented foods and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, my system has, since October, and I don't mean to be crude here, but
Cool.
I'm regular, like I've never been regular before.
You mean digestively speaking?
Digestively
Your bowel
speaking, yes.
Your bowel movements?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's because I'm a bodybuilder or if I had pyloric stenosis when I was a child. I don't know. So,
Oh, hold on. Can I ask you though? Are you talking about you would have a constipational situation?
oh, my whole life. And so since I've been taking Humanifort, I don't. And what I've noticed this prep, my waistline is becoming as close to small again, like I was when I was on the national level. I'm
Right.
able to pull in my stomach like a vacuum. You know, as we get older, our waistlines as men, we get a little wider and thicker.
Absolutely, yeah.
So on top of my better digestion, I also been doing a lot of planks and a lot of
Planks.
exercises to contract the abdomen inward into your lower abdomen, into my lower back.
Can I ask you a question then, just real quickly? I'm always
Yeah.
curious, guys. I mean, I like listening to people and talk to them. Like one of the things that I would always do prior to a show, about 8 weeks out, I would never squat
Mm-hmm.
because it causes a protrusion of the abdominal wall. I felt like my waist was thicker and heavier. I mean, I did some stupid crap at the very end of my career because I thought I needed to be bigger, but barring that, I would always stop squatting, prior to about 6 or 8 weeks out.
Yeah, well, I'm at that point now that I follow the same kind of guidelines where probably today was my last time I'll squat.
And you're going light, but still yet,
Well, I'm going light, but I'm going super slow with 185. And I'm pausing at the bottom and I'm coming back up and I'm
Are you doing high reps? Are you doing high reps?
I'm doing anywhere between 12 and 15 reps. Yeah. I can handle more weight, but I just don't see the benefit.
No benefit. Don't do that.
And then like risk to to benefit where, all right, if I do 225, I've done 275 recently and I'm like, that was stupid. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, trust me, I've learned the hard way. But may I say something to you and make a suggestion though?
Yeah, absolutely.
So many people suffer from digestive disorders and they just, a lot of men don't tell you. But one of the things I do, Vinny and Sean, because I have a very sensitive digestive tract, but I use magnesium citrate every day, twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, and I turn all my clients onto it. I've never, ever had a problem since I use that.
Interesting.
It's got to be.
How does that benefit your
magnesium
stomach?
citrate?
How does magnesium citrate benefit your gut?
Well, what it does, buddy, it naturally pulls fluidity into the colon, and you'll never ever suffer from constipation again. Ever.
And what milligrams do you suggest?
I do. A lot of people might do like 200 to 500 at night. I take 200 in the morning, 200 in the evening. I'm big on nutraceuticals, and I do that every day. Some people might be able to go with 100 and 100.
You do it before bed?
I take it before I go to bed, and then in the morning when I first get up with my nutraceuticals. So I do certain nutraceuticals at night, and I do some in the morning. But I'm real big on vitamin C. A couple times a day. So I'll take vitamin C and turmeric twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And at nighttime, I'll take magnesium citrate too. But it's great, even if you don't have constipation in your life. But it's still incredible. And I've never, I love oatmeal. And I've never been able to eat oatmeal because it constipates most people, and it did me. And I love oatmeal, but I never have even an issue with that anymore. It's been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me the last 2 years.
It's funny you saying that because I had eliminated oatmeal from my diet for years.
Because it constipated you?
Yeah.
It killed me, dude. It killed me. I mean, I couldn't do it, and I love it. So now I don't have any problem.
I was on vacation last year, and I was having oatmeal every morning with pineapple and blueberry. And I'm like, wait, I'm regular. So I kept pineapples and blueberries in my diet even right now.
I eat them every day.
Yeah.
I eat them every day.
I've never had fruit in my diet before.
Oh, yeah. Listen, can I tell y'all something? I don't really care about food at all. I just don't care. I don't care. And I eat very healthy, but every once in a while I might have a Grater's pint of ice cream or something like that, or something with my son. But I love eating healthy, and I love what I eat. And people look at me like, how in the hell can you do that every day? But are you like that? Are y'all like that? Or do you struggle with that?
No, I'm a foodie, dude. I'm Italian, so I grew up in Jersey.
Oh my God. So you like
meatballs and sausage. And I was just telling my friends, my nephew just competed and he turned pro. He won the overall Masters universe.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
My nephew, yeah. And now Juan and my nephew text, and they're texting me like desserts. I'm like, guys, you suck. Why do you have to? I didn't do this when you were prepping. And I'm like these desserts with like a brownie stuck on top of ice cream, and I'm like,
there's no love in this world, man.
No. But my like right now, I was great, and if you put it in front of me, I might eat it. I want so after the show is over, I want a veal parm sandwich. So that's a big thing here.
Good, Porter. It's okay. So yeah, I know Vinny's delicacy now is chocolate protein and cream of rice.
Yeah, no, I get that. I only do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm busy with work. That one meal I have to have something quick. So I mix protein powder, whey isolate in my cream of rice. So.
Yep. You still there, Porter?
Well, I'm here.
Okay, because we see you.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find you all.
Okay, we see you though.
See you.
Well, I don't see you all, but we're cool.
Just look straight ahead and pretend you see us.
Yeah, I'm in the pretend market right now.
So Porter, when you walked away from the stage, what was the hardest thing? Was it the travel? Was it the camaraderie? What was the biggest thing walking away from the stage?
When I walked away from the stage?
Yeah, when you retired.
No, I was done. It was 4 weeks before the 1990 Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
And I weighed, I think I weighed 219 that morning. And I'd hurt my my wrist. And then I got up late to do cardio. And I remember running into the shower or the bathroom and put on a pair of socks. And I leaned up against the wall or whatever I was leaning against, and I pulled my leg up real quick, and I tore my hamstring.
Oh,
and literally, guys, it's like you turn it off a switch. I said, I'm done. I quit just like that.
Yeah.
But you went through with the prep. You finished. And
No. Listen to me. I quit. I didn't go to the show. For 10 years. I didn't even talk to anyone that dealt with the bodybuilding world or anything. I mean, when I left. You know, and I was kind of done because I was feeling, I allowed myself to do something I swore I would never do, because I don't know how you feel, Benny, but I always kind of felt like I was an artist and my body was the clump of clay. And that's what I loved, getting ready for shows. I didn't really particularly love competing, but I loved the preparation, I could say, the challenge of it. And then, you know how Dorian came in and the sport started changing to become more of the mass mongering?
Yep.
I started using water-based testosterone. I remember around 96 or 97 to get bigger, and I started competing a little bit larger. It changed my whole structure, and I just didn't like my physique. Flat out, I just did not like my physique, you know. And I got to the point where I didn't want to do chemicals anymore, and that's where it all changed to me, though. You know, because I just didn't like me anymore. I no longer felt like an artist. I felt like a bodybuilder, and that's when I quit.
Interesting.
So when you got your pro card, what was the end goal? Top 10 of the Olympia, or what was your end goal? Or was there a goal?
I never had a goal.
Really?
I never set goals for myself. I just said, hey, I'm going to compete and I'm going to try to do the best. And I will tell you, when I would get ready for shows, I would say to myself, I do believe, guys, and as I've gotten older, I do believe we manifest things in our thoughts. Our thoughts are our energy. How we think, what we think about is really it's vital into everyday life and what your surroundings is, because really everything is about vibration, and your thoughts are vibration. So my point of it is, I would think think about myself winning a show, but I would always say, God, just let them judge me fairly. That's all I ask. Just judge me fairly. And, one thing led to another. I became somewhat successful in the sport, but I lost sight of who I was. And that's when things started changing. That's when I didn't like myself anymore. I felt like I was doing more chemicals than I should, even though I didn't do a lot. And I just didn't like me, and I didn't like where I was going. And I wanted to have a child one day. And I knew, I remember one of the catalysts. I got some blood work back. And I think my cholesterol level was 312 and my HDL was 17. Not good.
Yeah.
And so it's a myriad of different things that was transpiring. And I work for the city. I'm retired. I retired from the Louisville Fire Department. And I remember making a run on this black individual who had his right foot amputated from diabetes, 42 years old, really good looking man, not overweight or anything. He was in full arrest. And he died. He died. And I just thought to myself, look how young he is. And I was 39 at the time. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore, because I knew where the sport was going and I didn't want to go there, for myself. For myself.
I totally respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what changed. And it happened in a second.
So we had a couple of questions that I've been asking from followers or listeners. And one of them was, what would you say, would you be in support? Let's say your son came to you and said, Dad, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. Would you support him?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I would support him if he did it natural.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay, hold on, guys. I would try to talk him out of it. If I couldn't talk him out of it, and he said, Dad, I'm going to do it with you or without you, then I would be there to try to guide him in the right direction and support him in that way. But I would want him not to do it, because the sport's not what it used to be, guys.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I, that's just my personal thing. There, I respect all the guys, and it's just changed. Vinny, you agree a little bit?
Oh, of course, yeah.
But it is what it is, guys. But yeah, if he came to me and said, I'm going to do it with you or without you, I would support him, because I love him so much.
Yeah, of course, you love him and you want the best for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there any somebody's asking, was there any spoken or unspoken rivalries during the 90s for yourself and maybe anybody else that you were kind of in competition with?
Well, you mean like in a negative way?
No, just competition, mental competition. Oh, Milos is in this show. I'm going to beat him. Kevin's in the show. I got to beat Kevin.
Guys, I never thought like that.
Okay.
The only problem I can tell you that was ever transpired with me, and we had chatted before, guys, and I'll just tell you real quickly. For whatever reason, Momo Benaziza didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows why, but I remember that was a little bit of like tension until the day. And I think I shared this real quick. I shared it with Steve and them and not too long ago, but I remember the night he died. He had been kind of like we've been together for weeks, but he would not chat with me for some reason. Even Stevie Briswell asked him, well, how come you don't like Porter? And I'm not a mean person. I was just overly maybe friendly. He wasn't used to that. Either way, he came to me. I remember him coming to me while I was at the getting ready. I was watching the sailboats come in Rotterdam, outside of Amsterdam. And I was just before we left to the show and the Holland Grand Prix. And he come over and sat down with me. And I guess you could say real quickly, he kind of made a peace with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that night he was real pleasant toward me. And I remember before we walked out on stage, Momo was right in front of me. And I said, he didn't speak very good English at all. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I gave him a thumbs up, and he did a most muscular. And guys, let me tell you all, he was about 200 pounds and 5'3". He looked like it was unreal. And he had won every show. And, unfortunately that night, he started dying on stage, and he died that night. Yeah. And it just happened to be myself and IQ Gurley trying to save him.
Do you mind sharing that story?
Sure. What do you
how did you find him? How did you?
Well, he started dying on stage, to be honest with you guys. He would get in Europe, there's 4 rounds at one time. And all those shows and the venues are so packed, and they have always something special each time. So there was a wedding proposal thing going on at the same time as our show. So we did a first round, second round, and during the first and second round, or maybe the first round, we noticed that Momo kept walking off stage and then coming back on, walking off, coming back on. To do us a comparison, walk back off and come back on. Well, so we finished the first and second round. We're backstage and we're waiting to do our posing round, right? And I remember walking up to Momo, and I had some gummy bears, and Henderson Thorne and all of us, Milos and all of us were standing around, and Momo was leaning against the wall. And I said, hey, Momo, do you want some gummy bears? And I handed them out to me, and he said no. And about that time, guys, I guess he was maybe 4 feet away at that point in time. He projectile vomited.
Oh, geez.
And he hit the wall so hard, the puke splattered everywhere. And we thought, well, holy crap, what the hell's going on? Well, make a long story short, his potassium level was so high, he was having renal failure. And that was the first stages of renal failure. And he did that the whole time during the third and fourth round. He'd go out and puke, come back on, puke and come back on. And then afterwards, guys, we had like a dinner, and Momo was barely even functionable. And he stayed there, and no one really understood the severity of his sickness. We didn't know if he had a viral situation or whatever the case may be. But anyway, on the way back, it was Steve Brisball, Terry Pastel, I think Milo's with us. Sonny Schmidt might have been with us. Anyway, we passed the hospital, and the whole time he was puking all the way back to Amsterdam, which was about maybe an hour and a half to 2.5 hours away, maybe 3 hours. And I remember when we finally got there, we got out of the van, he could not even stand. I literally could not stand. So they carried him to his room, and we thought, well, he'll be okay, like a dummy. And finally, we were going to leave that next morning. And I went to get something to eat, and everyone had kind of dispersed in their own rooms. And I went to my room finally, and I had just laid down to go to sleep. And then Steve comes on my door, starts beating on my door. He said, come quick, come quick. Momo's sick. So I ran down to Momo's room, and he just pulled him off to the bed, from the bed to the floor. And I bent down. He took his last breath right there. And, which I didn't know. And he had a 22-year-old girlfriend with him that had never been around bodybuilding, by the way. And she was like literally, of course, going insane. And then I started CPR. So, and then IQ came in. He helped me. We did CPR for like 40, 45 minutes. Never bringing him back, of course. And before the EMS got there, and they got him there. We all went to the hospital to visit him. It's really kind of odd, guys. They set, when someone dies in Holland, at least in Holland and Amsterdam, they set the person up, put the sheet about, up around chest level, and you're able to go in and pay your respects. And 3 or 4 of us that went in to pay, Henderson, I think, and Steve and somebody else went in to pay respects to Momo, and he looked like he was asleep. He died, doing what he loved, but he had almost died at the Arnold that year too, doing the same thing. So what he was doing, he was taking, I don't know if he was taking more than, I think he was taking Lasix and something else, and maybe a Doctone, but he was taking Slow K. You know what Slow K is, guys? Pharmaceutical form of potassium. He wasn't drinking it all, and he was getting his fluid from a green apple. So green apples are super high in potassium. His potassium level was, I think, 10.5. I think anything past 5, you're going to die, or you're in bad shape. And that's what happened.
Wow.
Jeez.
Never heard that story.
Wow. Yeah, that's what happened to Momo.
Yeah. One of the only guys to ever beat Dorian.
I know it. Boy, that was a good. Now that to me, Dorian looked his best at the Night of the Champions. I thought he was incredible bodybuilder. As he got bigger, what your waist changes. But at Night of the Champions with he and Momo Benaziza, that was 2 incredible people.
Yeah, that was a sick night.
It was. It was.
Well, I don't want to end this on that note, but
I understand.
So Porter, let people know what you're doing nowadays. I know your personal training. Promote that. Let's wrap up here.
Well, I'm on my 26th year of personal training, and I love it. I have my own gym and training studio. It's a 3,000 square foot full gym. Like if I had to get ready for the Olympia, I could. It's got everything, and I love it. And I do have an Achieve program. You can go under portercottrell.com and find the Achieve program. And what I did is I made an app, and you can download this app, and you have all these different videos. And I take one of my buddies through a whole process of conditioning. He was really overweight, a lot of injuries, and he actually show you all of his training. And we trained every morning around 3 o'clock. So I was shooting in the morning at 3 o'clock before I trained. And he went through this incredible transformation, and then all the exercises, everything that you can think of dietarily, supplemental wise, is in that, that app. And it's really been a blessing for a lot of people. And that's, I do that on top of my personal training, and I raise my son.
And how long was that transformation? How long did that take?
Well, it actually took about 5 months, but it would have been about 3. And Vinny, sometimes people don't tell you everything they're doing.
Oh, I get it. I have clients like that.
Yeah. So I caught Lance in a few things, and I said, dude, you can't do that. He goes, well, why? This is not that bad. Yeah, it is. So it kept the status quo, but it would only been about 10 or 12 weeks, the transformation, but it took about 4 or 5 months. But we filmed it all, everything in real time. And it's pretty informative, if you will.
Nice. And so what are you on? What's your name on Instagram and Facebook?
Just in Instagram, Facebook, it's just Porter Cottrell. Instagram, it's IFBB Pro Porter Cottrell. And then my website is portercottrell.com, or you can go to achieved.com and, find the information on the Achieve program.
And you're located in Louisville, Kentucky?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So, Porter, it's been an absolute pleasure. I don't think you can still see us, but I'm still honored and humbled. And it's been an absolute pleasure. This hour's flown by, but I know we just scratched the surface.
This is the first time I didn't want to go off.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, Vinny, number one, before I forget.
Yes.
I'm crossing my fingers, wishing you the very best in 5 weeks, dude.
Thank you.
Go kick some booty, make everyone moody. It's going to be a great show for you. Sean, thank you for being so kind to me, guys.
Oh, thank you.
I really appreciate chatting with you all. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Maybe we can get you and Steve Wisbaugh on.
Oh, that would be absolutely fun.
Yes. Old school roundtable.
So we're going to actually
Sean, you got my number and everything. Or Benny, you got my number too. If y'all need anything, just yell at me. But let me know, Sean, and we'll do it again. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We're going to take a break after tonight for me to focus on the show.
Absolutely.
And then for the next 5 weeks, and then we're going to resume in September. So I'll reach out to Steve, and we'll get something going.
Okay, listen, you guys take care, and thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much.
Porter, it's been an absolute pleasure. Continued success, and again, yes, we'll get that roundtable scheduled hopefully in September.
Okay,
Porter,
Sean,
stay
thank
on.
you so much.
Stay on.
And Benny, again, good luck, buddy.
Thank you. Stay on real quick, because I want to ask you something privately.
Yeah, go ahead.
And everybody, thank you so much. As Vinny mentioned, my Master's Muscle will be on hiatus for a few weeks, but Sub Talk will still be going on with some other guests, supplementation, and everything else. Thank you so much. Have a great night.